Hi, I have a 2012 Ford Transit Connect, and I need to have the transmission replaced. And I was wondering if you could give me a quote for that.
Feels like it's been a really long time since I've posted to my channel. I know it hasn't been that long, but a lot has changed, so I'm just going to try to quickly get you guys back up to date as to where I'm at and what I'm doing. Obviously, the van build is done, and that's great. I'm also fully moved into the van, so this is my full-time home now, and even as I'm saying it, I still can't believe it. It's like it hasn't set in. And I think part of that is I've been working for so long and for so hard to get to this point. Now that I'm here, it just doesn't feel real. It's like this has been my life, focusing on this moment where I move into the van, and now that I'm past that point, it feels like a dream. It literally just feels like a dream. And I feel like I need to mention briefly that I was really at my wit's end. I was at my breaking point. Like the day I moved into this van, it was just too much. There were just too many things, and I don't know. I don't want to get into it too much, but I felt really alone with this process, and people didn't really understand what I was going through, because it's like it wasn't the start of a vacation. It was like me trying to shoehorn my life into this little van and thinking about all the things that I do in a house that I'm now going to have to manage in this tiny space. And there's just a lot of stress and anxiety, and it wasn't just as simple as throwing a blanket down in the back of a van and living van life. I know for a lot of people it is that easy. They can just say, hey, I'm going to live in a van now, and go buy a van and start living in it and figure it out as they go. But I don't know if I'm reflecting my own personal issues, but for me, it was really tough getting to this point. But now that I'm here, I can say it gets easier, and the problems that I've had on the road, by and large, have felt really manageable. So that's good. Anyways, first couple of weeks living in the van, as you just saw, I was hanging out in Colorado. I was seeing my friends. I got to go on a bunch of hikes in the mountains in the springtime, which is beautiful. And I got a little skiing in, which was a lot of effort for very little skiing, actually, but still super fun. I love skiing, so that was a great time. And then a few days ago, I drove up into Wyoming, and that's when the heat wave was hitting, and that was really brutal. I don't do well with heat. I'm more of a cold weather person. I like wearing layers and getting cozy, and I don't understand how people prefer hot weather, but I'm getting way off track here. Basically, I was having a really hard time with the heat, and the weather is kind of broken a little bit. Today especially has been really nice. The high today is supposed to be 65, and for the first time since I set out, it's actually going to rain today. So in addition to the heat, it's been really arid here, and you can just feel that. It dries out your skin, it dries out your sinuses, and also the whole western United States is starting to catch on fire right now, which is not something that we like to see. But anyways, the heat kind of drug me down for a while, but I've been getting used to it, learning to work around it. But the real bummer is that my van's transmission is having problems, and if you don't care about my transmission, you can stop watching this video now, because I'm just going to be ranting about my transmission for a while. And when I bought the van, I knew that there was a transmission issue, and how that manifested is when the van downshifts from third gear into second gear, it's very abrupt, to say the least. It actually sounds like you've hit something, like a big pothole. There's a bang, it throws you forward in your seat, and it feels really bad. It's like, ooh, something's very wrong there. And I've kind of been working around the issue by just manually clicking the transmission down into second gear before it downshifts on its own. And I guess I should mention, the reason I didn't catch this issue when I bought the van is because the torque converter needs to be locked. So it needs to be in third gear, and then the torque converter locks, so you watch the RPMs drop, and then at that point, if you downshift into second, you'll see that really bad shift condition, that loud bang. And I ran the van up and down through all the gears during the test drive. So did the mechanic that I had inspect it before I bought the van. And neither one of us noticed anything wrong with the transmission. But after a couple of weeks of driving it, I noticed it while driving on the interstate. And yeah, that was kind of a huge bummer that I bought a van with a bad transmission. But these Transit Connects are known to have transmission issues. And not that anyone asked me my opinion, but I think what's happened is that the Ford recommended service interval for these transmissions is to replace the fluid every 60,000 miles. And I bought my van with 62,000 miles on it, so I think it still had the original transmission fluid. And it looked okay, but this is the same service interval that Ford uses for their Ford Focus, which has the same engine and transmission. But it seems obvious to me that when you put this engine and transmission in a van, it's going to be generating more heat, you're going to be working it harder, and that fluid is going to wear out faster, and then you're going to be burning through clutch material as the fluid loses its lubricating properties. And I don't know, I'm no mechanic, but it seems to me that if you change the service interval, you might not have at least so many issues with these transmissions. Anyways, where was I? So my van has always had this transmission issue. Additionally, I've had the service light on the dashboard come on a couple of times, and I took it to the Ford dealer when that happened, and they told me that the service light means that there is an internal transmission failure. And that's literally all they could tell me. They said, we can't do any more diagnosis, and the only thing we can do is replace the whole transmission or rebuild the one you have in there. And at the time I was like, no, I don't want to do that. That sounds expensive, which it is. But now that I've been hitting the road, I've found that after a few hours of driving, the transmission just isn't shifting very well. It'll hold on to gears longer than it should. So I'll be sitting at red line going 65 miles an hour being like, okay, can we please downshift now? And eventually it gets there, but I haven't seen it doing that before. And then, yeah, there's just all kinds of weird shifting issues where it like the RPMs drop like it's about to change gear and then it changes its mind and doesn't. Also, like after a good amount of driving, all the shifts just feel more rough and like not quite right. So I think part of that is like the transmission's just getting too hot and that's affecting the shift quality. But I also think that there's just a problem with the transmission, and I've been having nightmares about breaking down like out in the backcountry or on like a winding mountain road where there's no shoulder. And so I've decided before I get myself into a bad or dangerous situation, I need to have the transmission fixed. And what I'm going to do is get a Ford remanufactured transmission, which is the most expensive way that you can fix this problem. But I'm doing this because the Ford transmission comes with a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty, and I can have warranty work done at any Ford dealer across the country. So for someone who's traveling, this just is the only option that makes sense, especially because I kind of think that I might still have transmission problems in the future. I'm worried that this engine and transmission just can't keep up with the kind of driving that I've been doing. I had my van weighed, and it is 4,700 pounds. That's what I'm calling the expedition weight, because that's with a full water tank, full tank of gas, myself in the van, a bunch of food. So like it will never be heavier than 4,700 pounds, which is under the maximum gross vehicle weight. But I'm running pretty heavy, and we've got this engine and transmission that's for a Ford Focus. So I don't know if it's going to hold up to the rolling hills out here in the West and the extreme heat that we've been seeing. So I really want to have a good warranty, and I'm crossing my fingers. I don't want to be like popping new transmissions in this thing every few months like they're candy, but I also really want to cover my butt in case something else bad does happen. So the upshot is that I have ordered a new transmission. That's the other thing. There's no transmissions available right now. Ford literally has to build it for me. So I have to wait 30 days and hope I don't break down in the meantime. But in 30 days in Spokane, Washington, there will be a transmission for me, and I will get to have that put in, and then I can put this behind me finally. So I'm kind of hanging out in that area. I'm going to head out to Devil's Tower tomorrow. and that's about as far east as I'm going to go, and then I'm going to start heading west back towards Washington, and we might go up through Glacier National Park at that point, but we'll see. So anyways, I think that sort of sums up where I'm at. Thank you for watching. In the next video, I'm going to be doing a pretty epic summit out here, so if you want to see me go on a long, brutal hike, please subscribe and you can catch that one, and I will see you guys later. Ta-ta! So long!